Hello again, Year 3, and welcome to Week 5, Lesson 2, where we are continuing our theme of cartoons as we're looking at art. We're doing an art week. Now, this lesson will give you the opportunity to actually draw your own cartoons, but we have to think very carefully about how we're going to do that. There's no point just scribbling on a bit of paper. We have to think very, very carefully about it, because cartoons need to show emotion. And that's what we're going to look at. So you need to think back to our art discovery and looking at the emotions in Inside Out. And we can look at how we might express those in cartoon style. If you watch that cartoon again, all of the main characters express the emotion that they're representing, the feeling they're representing very well. So that's what we're going to look at today. So to begin with, I want you to look at these very simple cartoon drawings of faces. All it is, eyes, mouth, eyebrows, and very little else. There isn't even a nose on these characters, and yet, just by looking at them, you can tell exactly what the person might be thinking or feeling. So, what I want you to do is pause this video and work with somebody else to go through each of these illustrations, each of these emotions, cartoon emotions, and tell them what you think each emotion stands for. So what each character in these cartoons is thinking. So pause the video now and see if you can work out what each of these characters might be thinking or feeling, or what emotion they are showing. Welcome back. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and it's very interesting to see how such simple drawings can be used to show so many different emotions. So when you're drawing your own cartoons, you have to look very carefully. In the last set we looked at, there were lots of eyes and lots of mouths and no noses. Now you might want to include a nose in yours. So you're looking at the expression, and the eyes are really important. So what could small eyes mean? So if you draw small eyes, what's that going to represent? What about large eyes? If you draw the eyes very large, what emotional feeling is that likely to represent? What about using the eyebrows and the pupils? If you have really big pupils, what's that showing? If you have really small pupils, what about that? What about the direction they're looking at? So if they're looking like the middle one here, close together and down a bit, what's that telling us? What happens if they're at the bottom or the top, or small or big or round, or maybe a different shape? What about eyelids, using eyelids? Some of these use eyelids as well. So think about the ways the eyes might look, the size, the shape, is important, where the pupil is, the size of the pupil. You might want to add eyebrows, eyelids, and all of those can be used to express an emotion. So you might want to look at these ones and decide which emotions you think these represent, and then you can use those when you're thinking about your own cartoons. Now we've looked at eyes. What about mouths? There's a whole set of mouths just below us here, cartoon mouths, and each one could be used to represent a different emotion or get a different feeling across. Now, we all know what happiness looks like, a big smile, and it's like that, and sadness is usually an upside down semicircle. But if you look at this whole range just below me here, there's all sorts of different expressions being shown. Maybe you can use teeth, maybe you can use a large mouth or a small mouth or a flat mouth to show a particular emotion. What you could do is maybe try and do an emotion yourself. See if you can practice what it might feel like to do an emotion, and then look at the shape of your face, maybe in a mirror. So, for example, you might look angry. You might do an angry face, and then look at your eyes and your mouth whilst you're doing that, and use that in your illustrations. Or you could have a really scared face and look at the shape of your mouth and your eyes and what they do when you're scared. So you can then use that when you're drawing your own cartoon characters. Now here's a whole set of super drawings, very, very simple ones, which get across all these different emotions. So you could use these maybe to give yourself some ideas. So very simple drawings, and yet look at all the different emotions being shown just from a few lines. And your task is to draw 10 cartoon faces. That doesn't sound like very many, but actually it is quite a lot, and you'll have to think very carefully about it. But I want these cartoon faces to show joy, sadness, anger, scared, disgust, shock, jealousy, someone who's tired or sleepy, someone who's awake, someone who's bored. And I want you to draw just the eyes, just the mouth, maybe a nose, maybe a head shape, to represent all these different emotions, just using cartoons. So just using black and white, just using the face. So I look forward to seeing it when you put your work up on Tapestry, and I'm sure it will be brilliant. And I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Bye.